PM, we'll call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Cody, would you do us the honor of a roll call, please?
Supervisor Milky,
I am here.
Treasurer Rice,
Here.
Trustee Brown,
Here.
Trustee Thering,
Here.
Clerk Cody here, excused Bills and Smith.
All right, we have an agenda in front of us. I will just make a note before any motions are made. There was a correction to be made found in the minutes. I'm sorry?
In the consent agenda,
In the
right?
consent, so all I'm suggesting is if somebody wants to pull it, then we can add it to the agenda now, if you want it. But I'll take whatever motions you all have with regards to the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Support.
Any further discussion? All in favor to approve the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda is approved unanimously. We have no presentations tonight, no public hearings. So that brings us to item 7 on the agenda. Public comment. Public comment is restricted to 3 minutes regarding items on this agenda. If you choose to address the public, please state your name and address for the record. And with that, we'll open up public comment at 7:02 p.m.
We don't have anyone in the waiting room.
Holidays are near. We have, let the record show that we have no one connected remotely to this meeting. Also, I'm seeing no one coming forward locally here within this room. So seeing no public comment, we'll close public comment at 7:00. I was hoping it'd switch to 3 here. 7:02 p.m. No proposed closed session that I'm aware of. So without objection, we'll go to item 9 on the agenda. Current list of boards and commissions. Just as a reminder, at the last meeting, we chose to hold off on a couple that are due. Construction Board of Appeals being the most, probably the most important as far as timing. We did get some applications for that. So if you're okay, do you want to discuss the Construction Board of Appeals? We have 2 spots open currently with 2 applications.
If there's no discussion, because both have been on the Construction Board of Appeals, I'll make a motion. And do I have to motion, or can I, per each individual, or can I combine my motion?
Practice typically is one at a time.
One
just-
at a time?
yeah.
Okay, I'd like to start with, to make a motion for Andrew P. Tyson, to be appointed to the Construction Board of Appeals with term ending 2025. Correct?
December 2025, it's a 2-year.
Yeah, 2-year
Yeah,
term.
thank you.
December 2025.
Support.
Motion by Brown, support by Clerk Cody. Treasurer Rice?
The only thing is in regards to the date, usually we try to stagger. If we do this, it'll all will be 12/31/2025 for the entire board.
I think this is a board we don't have latitude on staggering like we do with the others.
I don't know if there's any rules or policies regarding that as it relates to the Construction
Okay.
Board of Appeals. I will tell you that they haven't met in maybe 2 years, so I'm not sure that staggering is
Necessary.
relevant for
Okay.
this board. 'cause
Okay,
of
I
how
just
rare
I
they
just wanted to
meet.
make sure that, because it would put all of them at 12/31/2025. So
Well, I do appreciate hearing that it's not a board that needs to meet very often, so that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you for that note.
Yep.
Any other discussion on Andy Tyson? I'll just add, I've served with Andy on the ZBA, good board member, does his due diligence, always prepared.
I've worked with Andy in the district, in the industry for many years. He's a first-class individual and knows us. And what a great asset to have him on this board.
Anything else? All right, everybody clear on the motion to appoint Andy Tyson to the Construction Board of Appeals, term ending 12/31/2025. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Yep, he's appointed unanimously.
I would like to make another motion. I would like to make a motion for Joseph Schaefer to also be appointed to the Construction Board of Appeals with a term ending December 2025.
Support.
Motion by Brown, support by Cody. Any other discussion? I don't know Mr. Schaefer, so I can't comment.
I know of Mr. Schaefer, and I know of his brothers in the construction company, just from being in the industry. They do good work, so I'll give them that.
I appreciate him putting his name back in the
Absolutely.
ring. Any other discussion? All in favor of appointing Joseph Schaefer to the Construction Board of Appeals, term ending December 31st, 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Mr. Schaefer appointed to the Construction Board of Appeals unanimously. Thank you, Trustee Brown. So that takes care of that board. We do have the Sidewalk Committee still needing appointments. We have no applications yet for that.
Do we still have one more expiration date, or am I missing
We
something?
appointed Mr. Gallagher 2
No,
meetings ago, I think it
the
is.
Colin Heron.
He has not applied, and there's actually just the 3 spots.
Oh, okay, good call. Thank you.
Yeah, I was hoping Mr. Herron would also apply, but did not happen.
Yeah, I see that says term begins not, sorry,
So I'm excited to have Mr. Gallagher
yes.
as a new member on that board. So it was a reminder on the Sidewalk Committee, we do have several applications for the Zoning Board of Appeals. Yeah, I hope it's okay for me to say this. We appointed Trustee Brown some time ago, just as a note, with the hopes to ultimately kick you off. And the only reason for that is because you're a trustee versus
Yep.
someone at large from the public.
Yep.
So
Yep.
nothing against your character or your service to the community.
Absolutely understand.
Yeah. But we do have several applications there if somebody feels inclined.
I do. I do feel very inclined with Lori Rogers. I know Lori personally. I've worked with her for 35 years, on a daily basis for 10 years. Lori's always been an extremely straight shooter, whether dealing with myself, management, or our customers. I think Lori would be an excellent applicant for Zoning Board of Appeals. And at that point, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Lori Rogers for Zoning Board of Appeals, term ending, excuse me, I don't know the term ending on that
It's a
one.
3-year, 26.
26, December of 2026.
And if I may interject, I'm sorry, were you done, Trustee Brown?
I am done with that's my
Um,
motion.
That makes sense to me. I'm just noting that she would not be then appointed until essentially the calendar year starts, right?
Correct.
Okay. Do we have support for the motion?
Support.
Motion by Brown, support by Cody. Discussion on this appointment?
Yeah, I was looking at one of the other applicants, Mr. Coyne, and I see he's an alternate. And I was wondering if that would be more appropriate to put him in the vacant spot as not
He-
an alternate and,
I approached him originally because he sits next to me on the EDA, and we were having trouble filling this board, and I asked him if he'd be willing to serve. That's the same time I asked Rick Bars, who also serves on the EDA. And he said he was preferring not to be a permanent member, but as an alternate.
okay, so then he wouldn't actually have to apply till next year then? Because his isn't up until
Oh,
December of 2024.
I see your point. You're right, so I'm curious about that, but I guess I don't know the answer.
I mean,
Right, I didn't even think about that, yes.
What was the question?
well, in looking
Oh.
at the application, I saw Mr. Coyne's actual term now is not up until 2024, so I was wondering if when he was applying, he was actually trying to apply for the vacant position. And he is?
Okay.
Okay.
That's, I appreciate the clarification. Clerk Cody?
I was just asking if we're putting her in as the alternate spot or vacant.
You made the
My
motion.
motion was for the vacant spot. Figuring Dave was alternate.
Which I could totally see. I mean, I think Lori would be excellent. I didn't know if Mr. Coyne, having been on as an alternate, obviously being an alternate is very important, so she
Sure.
would definitely see, I'm not trying to have you change your motion at all. I just was just thinking out loud.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Was anybody else thinking in the same way I'm thinking, or not necessarily? If you're fine.
I would like
I-
David Coyne to be in the vacant spot rather than Lori Rogers. If it's-
My comment to that would be that Dave serves on the EDA, and it's nice to have other people.
Okay.
I mean, it's not related to this, but Sarji Chowdhury, I serve with him on the Board of Review, also on the EDA. He's
Yeah.
also applied for this, and I haven't wanted to, personally, have not wanted to consider him because he's already serving on other boards.
Right.
And that would be my motivation.
Okay. Well, I can't argue with that. He's already a board member of another board, so.
And I like Dave a lot. He does a
Oh,
great
no,
job
no,
on the
it's-
EDA.
Oh,
I understand.
I like Dave a lot. This is nothing against Dave
Right.
at all. Absolutely. My motion is nothing against Dave. I sat on a board with him. I like Dave. I've been a businessman in this community all my life with Dave, but I do like to spread it around. I think that's,
Yep.
the more community we can get involved on our
Yep.
boards, I like that.
Does anybody here know Lori very well?
Me,
No.
No?
just me. If you guys trust me, I guess.
Yeah, and I absolutely do. So I have no issue in that respect. That was the point. I would guess I was wanting somebody
Right.
to make, to say that is, if we are trying to spread the wealth, so to speak, he is part of the board. So,
Do you have any other comments?
No.
Okay, we have motion to appoint, hopefully I get this right, Lori Rogers to the vacant seat 4, term beginning January 1st, 2024, to end on 12/31/2026.
Six.
did you say one?
1/1/24,
Okay,
to
yes.
begin then,
Yes, correct.
versus appointing now and then having to reappoint someone in that spot beginning the calendar year, right? Did I get that correct on the motion?
That is correct.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, so Lori Rogers appointed unanimously to the Zoning Board of Appeals. We do have 3 other, I think it was 3, unless I missed one. I don't know why I didn't think of Dave the way you did. I really appreciate you lifting that up, Trustee Thering.
I just have a quick
Sure.
question. On the board expiration dates, there isn't the Sidewalk and Pathways Committee anymore? Is there? a
I asked
reason?
that to be removed
Okay,
from the matrix.
okay,
There's been no activity from that board in a while,
yep,
and I am aware that the Planning Commission is considering some action related to the
okay,
Sidewalk Committee, which may, if approved, may make it not eliminated, but I'll say deactivate it
okay,
or give them a hiatus.
okay.
It's on our next agenda.
That's good to know.
Thank you.
So don't pursue this, because I had someone I was gonna call on this, so, good.
I would not.
Not until the planning commission makes a
At
decision on
least,
that.
Yeah. right.
Okay.
It's helpful. Does anybody feel moved to replace trustee Brown, or are we gonna move on?
Somebody replace me.
On ZBA,
Somebody
my
replace-
apologies.
Somebody replace me.
He cannot be
My God.
replaced.
Hold on, we have, yes. I would like to make a motion to appoint Brian Clark for the, sorry, trustee Brown, for the second alternate of the ZBA. I guess that would be for a one-year term then, starting immediately to end on 11/20/24.
I think this is a staggered board, and trustee Brown's expiration date is basically when his term as a trustee is up. But I think this is a staggered board where there's, like a 2-2-3 every 3 years.
Okay, so
That's correct, and
So I don't know what it should be.
if the board does want to appoint somebody different, a non-trustee to the ZBA, the administration's recommendation is you appoint them to a full 3-year term, effective 1/1/24, and it would expire 12/31/26.
So that seat coincides with the number 4 seat we just appointed to.
So my motion would include the dates of effective 1/1/24 to expire on 12/31/26.
Support.
Motion by Thering, support by Cody. Discussion?
Sure. Thank you, trustee Thering. Thank you, trustee Cody. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all, so I appreciate it.
Well, as long as we're giving out some gratitude, thank you for being willing to sit in that spot for the time that you did until we were able to get somebody to sit that seat. So that's appreciated.
I appreciate it too. It's, being part of all of that sometimes can be a lot, so.
Well, and with that being said, if there is like, and I don't know if a trustee can sit on the sidewalks committee or not, if we do need to fill that, I would be more than willing to step in and do it again if I have
I was
to.
gonna say, I'm already board rep on it.
So,
so.
okay, oh, yeah, okay. But I
But,
mean,
yeah.
just to keep the boards full is what
Right.
we're looking to do, right? So,
Yeah.
and I'll keep selling out there as much as I can to try to get applications in.
I met Brian Clark years ago. I don't even remember where I met him. And so I generally see him like at a local grocery store or just out in the community public. And the only reason he and I have ever identified together is I was a mathematician by study, statistician in computer science. He is mathematician. He is a statistician, which is considered a branch of mathematics. And so he and I always get along just because of the mathematics background. So I know him in a very casual way. I do not know him in any professional way. I do not consider him a close friend, but my interactions with him is always positive. So I don't have a lot to say, but I know him.
Well, Brian's resume is
Yeah, it was.
quite complex.
I
It's nice.
was actually happy to see that because I'm like, wow, I feel like I know him better now.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to get an application, especially, or a resume, especially a thorough resume like that.
Anybody else know Brian by chance?
He's a neighbor.
He is?
Lives across the street.
Over here.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm over here and he's across the street on the other side of the road.
And you made the nomination, so I'm assuming you must be comfortable with
Yeah,
Clark, so.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Not trying to take anything away from
Don't.
trustee Brown. I didn't mean it like that, but Because I kind of jumped out of my seat, didn't I, a little bit? So, sorry, man. I didn't.
So did I.
Wasn't-
So did I, Trustee Thering. It's okay. I jumped out of mine too.
He's thanking you.
Well, when you meet in the street, you can help them out with what, planning commission
Sure.
feeds a lot into what the ZBA does
Sure.
very often, so, if he gets appointed. So, any other conversation or debate on this? We have a motion to appoint, Mr. Clark to the ZBA, as alternate two, term beginning January 1st, 2024, ending 12/31/2026. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. If I heard correctly, Mr. Clark was appointed unanimously. At this point, unless somebody wants to correct me, I believe, with the exception of a board that the planning commission is thinking about with the sidewalk committee, we have all our boards full at this point, which is a blessing. So, thank you for that. So, without objection, we'll move on. We've got our December monthly activity report coming separate. The board member reports. Trustee Therian seems to be on a roll tonight. I'm anxious to
Geez,
come at you,
nice.
so.
Hit a wall. I actually have nothing to report. I'm good for tonight. Other than we'll have something to talk about next meeting.
Fabulous. Clerk Cody.
At the last election commission meeting, we passed a resolution to go down to 2 precincts. It'll be precinct 1 and 2 here at the Township Hall, and then Jameson Hall as for regular precincts. We'll still have our absentee precinct here, and then we still have the 9-day early voting, so. But there's about 3,500, it's kind of balanced, well, 3,900 in Jameson, 3,500 here, I think. Might be backwards though, but pretty close, around the same.
That's awesome.
And then, what else do we do?
That'll really help with just getting your election workers, right? Because
Yeah.
you've
I
cut
was
that
kinda
down by
short.
33%.
Yeah. And then, what else do we do? We outsourced the flyers that I had to mail out for the 9-day early voting center because I couldn't get them to print on the printers. So that's gonna be mailed out soon. And then we have everybody that was in 3 and part of 2 will be getting a new ID card. I'm just gonna try to get a stamp or something for that to say that it's a new precinct. That way it kind of notifies them. And then everybody will start getting their absentee applications, I guess. That's coming up soon too.
It's really close, actually, isn't it? Can I put
Yeah.
you on the spot here? So February, what's the actual election day now?
27th.
27th.
Mhm.
So then the 9, and I'm saying this partly in case the public watches this, the 9 days will begin when and end when?
I think it's on the Saturday.
So it's a Saturday to Saturday prior
Yeah.
to the 27th.
But we're not open on, or the 9 days doesn't count for the Monday prior.
Correct, right.
But I believe it's on Saturday. I don't know. Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, I think you had told me Saturday to Saturday. I wanted it just to be heard in case somebody was watching going, hey, when can I vote? But that'll all be in the mailer, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
It has the dates on the bottom of it.
Very good, thank you. Trustee Brown?
I'm all set tonight.
Treasurer Rice?
As it's been pointed out, my board hasn't met in a while, so. Other
But
than
I
that,
did-
taxes.
I did get my taxes in the mail.
I know you're waiting for that, me to point out taxes, so.
Yes. Board review met on Tuesday morning. We met for a couple hours. We actually, I think we had 17 items that we had to either were corrections or 15 of the 17 items were just corrections, clerical errors that have happened in the past. And then 2 more, I think, were properties, I think, that were taken off the rolls for, I'm trying to remember why. I'm getting that wrong, but in any event, we had a fairly full agenda. I did have some discussions, we've had it here, with regards to looking at how we better inform the public of how they go about appealing their assessments. So basically said that this board was supportive of that idea, that they had that recommendation last July. We've talked about it here. We had general support for that, and that we've given the manager some latitude to figure out the best way to make that happen. And it was, I thought, a good discussion.
And I have a meeting scheduled, I think, on the 20th with staff internal to start making sure that's ready to go in sometime between after receipt of assessment notices in February and the March board review.
So excited about that. Moving on, consent agenda. Happy to entertain any motions with consent agenda. I will point out there was a correction that was requested on the minutes. Clerk Cody.
Motion to approve the consent agenda with the correction of the November 29th, 2023 minutes, adding the vote ayes 6, nays 0, motion carried under C. Okay.
Support. Motion by Cody, support by Brown. Any other discussion? I believe you came in and did warrants covering for one of the
did.
other trustees today. Thank
Yes,
you
sir.
for doing that. Any issues?
No, sir.
Again, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other discussion on this?
And I'm sorry, you're working on the consent agenda,
Correct.
which also includes the meeting, 24 meeting calendar.
Oh,
Yes.
And I'd heard that there was some discussion and maybe wanted to adjust a couple of those dates.
Oh.
Yep. So we need to pull that from the consent agenda to check those dates.
I would request if you would pull that out. Would you be willing to amend your motion for that?
Motion to approve the consent agenda, but pulling out the,
Meeting
where is
schedule.
it at?
Board
for
meeting
that.
schedule adoption.
Yep.
Support.
Okay, we all clear on the motion?
Mhm.
No.
We-
To
As a
approve
note,
it
we
with
have
the
a-
change and then pulling out
Right.
G.
So we have a approval of consent agenda, moving accounts payable, item C, to the end of our new business, reasonable. And the correction to the,
What did you say?
moving the item C.
Not accounts payable.
yeah.
G.
Yeah,
G
thank
as
you,
in
G.
George.
Meeting schedule, sorry.
George.
It's been a long couple of weeks. Item
Oh.
G to the end of our new business, and then the correction to the
Make it
minutes.
easy.
All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda passes unanimously with the one correction and the one poll. So that takes us to new business.
Thanks for the catch on that, Mark.
Yes, thank you. I meant to pull that out, and then I skipped mine. New business, just a note to the public before we move on to item A. This is typically calendar-wise when this Board of Trustees would approve our fiscal budget for the upcoming year. As a note, the budget process went pretty smoothly this year. And we knew we had 6 members at the last meeting, and the decision was made at that time to approve the budget. And it was approved then, so if you're expecting it tonight, that's why you're not seeing it. It's already been approved for fiscal year 2024. So with that, though, we'll move on to new business, Policy Governance 2.4, Financial Planning and Budgeting. Mr. Stuhldreher, you may present this.
Thank you and good evening, everybody. There's a report on this item on page 35 of your agenda packet. This is your annual review of Policy 2.4, Financial Planning and Budgeting. This is to be reviewed in December of each year. The policy at its highest level states that financial planning for any fiscal year or the remaining part of any fiscal year shall not deviate materially from board's ends priorities, risk fiscal jeopardy, or fail to be derived from a multi-year plan. There are a few sub-policies within that I won't read right now. I interpret this policy as indicating that the Board of Trustees seeks to ensure that financial stability exists within the township by requiring the manager to not fail to use reasonable and maybe conservative revenue and expenditure projections when developing and monitoring and amending, otherwise managing the annual budget, that the manager shall not budget more expenditures than what revenues and existing fund balances can support, that the fund balances are budgeted at a level that meet other sections of the governance policy that have to do with minimum amounts of fund balance. I think this interpretation is reasonable. From a budgeting public sector perspective, it's we want to be conservative, but we don't want to be overly conservative. We just want to manage the reality as things come to us, that we adjust and act accordingly and at the appropriate time. We should be looking out over the horizon, so to speak, so that we can limit the financial impacts to the extent possible of unanticipated events. There's data here. Our current and proposed 2024 budget recommendations, which was approved, followed state statute. I think the estimates in that were reasonable. I think we were looking at 3 to 4% increases in property taxes, but just for the next couple of years. As we looked further out, those projections were being driven by 1% and 2% increases. We report out monthly cash flow, we report out cash flow to the board on a quarterly basis. We have, because of our fund balance, we are very cash rich, so we don't have to concern ourselves with liquidity. Typically, the 2023 budget was amended 5 times during the course of the fiscal year as things came to our attention and we wanted to take particular action. Our policy and programming recommendations were coming with appropriate budget amendments. You received the 2022 fiscal year end audit in maybe May of 23, and that demonstrated, I think, and from an independent perspective, limited risk of fiscal jeopardy. It was a clean audit, no management comments, an unmodified opinion, which is the highest opinion they can give. We do include some long-term projections in the recommended budget book that we update annually that helps us keep an eye on the horizon. I will note that we do need to develop a more robust capital improvement plan, and that's noted in this report as well. And with all that said and tying it all together, it would be my opinion that the administration's in compliance with this policy. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
It's thorough, thank you.
No questions?
No.
Report was due in December, on
We're
time?
good.
Yes. Interpretation is important. Everybody comfortable with the manager's interpretation? 'Cause that's,
Yes.
Absolutely.
Do you believe the interpretation is justified and reasonable based on the intent of the policy then?
Yes.
Do you feel the interpretation did not address anything that's in the policy?
I'm satisfied.
I'm as well. And then the manager indicated administration feels that they're in compliance. Does this board feel the same or differently?
Same.
Same.
I feel
Compliance.
absolutely they're in compliance.
any areas regarding this policy you worry about, not addressed? It sounds like we just said it covers everything, right?
Correct.
And then policy language you'd like to see incorporated to address your concern. Anything in the policy that should be removed, or anything you'd like to add?
No.
And then, if there are general comments at all, I have one, but I just want to appreciate manager lifting up the capital improvement plan. This is something we've talked about for a few years, and I think we continue to make progress in that arena. But I appreciate you lifting it up as something that we continue to need to work on. So with that, if there's no objections, we'll move to item B on our new business. Item B is Policy Governance 3.0, Global Governance Commitment. For some reason, I was thinking this was Section 4, but this is Section 3, so this is more in your area, isn't it?
No, this is the board's.
It is, okay. My apologies. I think I'm running on empty these days. Holidays are coming. So item 3.0, Global Governance Commitment. I'm assuming everybody's read through this. It's a fairly short piece of policy. Basically says, I'm going to put it in very different words. Things are running the way they should be. That we're conservative with the monies, that they're being, what we do spend, we're spending towards what the ends are, that, right? I mean, that's how I interpret this brief policy, is that we're running things well. Anybody else want to address that? So this again was due in December. We're reviewing it in December, so I'm assuming there's no objection that we're working on it when it's due.
Right.
Do you believe we're in strict compliance on this policy?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I hate to say it's an easy one to be in compliance of, but I think from my expectation perspective, I expect that this should be an easy one to attain, even though there are a lot of, I think, municipalities that don't attain something like that. Do you think the board can improve upon what we do with regards to this at this point?
I think improvements are made all year long.
I think it's continual too. We're always looking at, but that's part of it, right? The making sure that we're getting, we're doing the appropriate things at appropriate costs.
If we could remember everything that was improved this year and had it on a sheet of paper, it'd be, it would be considerable. It's not, so things are being improved. If not, they're being talked about, so.
I think that's a good point. Good way to put it. Anything else we need to learn or discuss on this particular policy? This is one of our more simple, higher level policies that we have.
I think one thing that really rings out in this policy, more than anything, I think this board is very good. I sit on several different boards, not just here in Union Township, but other boards. I think one thing that we do really well, and it says it right here, B, avoids unacceptable actions and situations. I think this board is very good at that. As far as all of us working together to avoid those situations, and I think it makes us very productive. That's all.
That's
I just
excellent.
wanted to lift that up. I know it's short and this, but I like the wording in that, how it comes across.
I appreciate you lifting up like that. Hiccups happen, life happens,
They do.
right?
They do.
And I think this board has dealt with those things in a professional way, responsible way, and get it
Yeah,
behind
we-
us. And
we don't lead into chaos.
Right.
We work together not to have that.
yeah, well said.
That's how I look at that.
Anything else? Moving on to item C, which was the item we pulled out of consent agenda regarding the calendar. I think I might have been the first one to lift this up. We're preparing for the management team meeting. And I said, the only thing that I have to address is the calendar. In particular, I had 3 notes, but one was important to me, which was November 27th, which is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I felt that was unfair to whoever the next board will be. So I do want to lift up that the next board will take office on the 20th of November.
Yes.
So some of the decisions we're beginning to make now will affect this next board too. So I had talked to Ms. Green about this. Typically what we've done in the past, and you please jump in if you think I'm wrong. Typically what we've done in the past on that Wednesday before Thanksgiving is move it to the Tuesday.
Oh.
So we could either go to the Wednesday prior, which makes a short week between the 13th and 21st, or I would suggest maybe the,
Is there any other meetings
26th.
on that Tuesday?
I don't know the answer.
Like-
Good
like there
question.
was,
Like planning commission or something?
I don't know if the planning commission's, I don't have the planning commission scheduled.
It would be on the
I think it would be on the-
website, right?
It's the third Tuesday?
Oh, not yet.
Let me-
Oh.
I might be able to
It
find
would be,
it.
I think it's the
19th.
third Thursday, so it'd be on the 19th.
Third Tuesday's the
I'm
19th.
pulling up the,
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It's not gonna be on there, it's not approved yet.
Oh, yeah.
It's a new one.
So the 26th would work. From administration's perspective, are there issues calendar-wise that you're aware of? For the, if either the 20th or the 26th?
I think either one of those would work. We will have a regularly scheduled meeting on the 13th of November. And as you indicate, the board officially becomes responsible on 11/20. I can't recall if it's
Yeah.
at 1 in the morning or at night.
I think it's at midnight, but I can't remember which midnight.
And what I was thinking is, did we want to have a scheduled board meeting on the same day that they came in? And maybe not, which would lend us to go towards the 26th,
Yeah.
that Tuesday.
That would be my thoughts too. The other thing that came to my mind as I was thinking about the calendar then is that's usually our budget process. And if you remember when we came in as a new board together, that's a lot to jump into. You've got essentially 2 meetings before you statutorily need to approve a budget, right? And the budget process is 3/4 of the way done at that point. And I only lift that up because I see that as a issue every 4 years essentially.
Yeah.
And not that whatever we do with the calendar here tonight's gonna solve that, but
not trying to push it, but would it be a good goal to have a budget kind of somewhat approved by the old board to say, this is what we've put together for you? And I don't know what that does for Mark and his staff. I mean, that, it does kind of takes a few weeks of prep work out of their schedule, but is it easier or not easier to help the incoming board? I don't know.
I had similar thoughts today. That'd be nice not to put that on the board, because I remember us going through it, and there was you're new to reading budgets, or a lot of members are new to reading budgets at that point. You really don't have any experience to draw on very often. If you're a new elected official, no experience to draw on to know, well, you got money in the budget for this, what the heck is that for, right? You have no experience to draw on.
Right.
And then I devil's advocate, I felt it would be unfair for this board to try to approve, right?
I wouldn't,
And you-
approve it.
Yeah.
No.
but
It's just
set it
if-
up
if-
for that.
Manager Stool Dryer, if somehow we could, maybe it isn't done, but it's kind of done, and if they
We've-
choose to make some changes, that's,
So we've given our input, tried to shape it
we've given our input, shaped it
as a recommendation essentially to
as a
the,
recommendation to the new board.
With 4 years' experience and many years of everybody else, but at least the 4 years of this board together
Right.
that we've seen.
Well, if it goes as smooth as this year, I mean, this was, I didn't have any questions. I didn't need to meet with Manager Stool Dryer. I mean, I was very comfortable with what was happening, so.
Well, this is an issue that if we feel strongly about helping the next board, if we think we're able to do that, we can solve that this year. So I'm gonna bring us back to the calendar now.
Okay.
Do you have a comment on this you'd like to?
I do. I actually, from the administration's perspective, and I think for the board, whether they're new or old, if the budget was approved before any of the holidays started,
That would
which
be
means
amazing.
before Thanksgiving, that would be fantastic. And the administration could adjust our schedule to make that happen. And I don't see any reason why this board could not adopt, in this example, an FY '25 budget, say on November 13th, adopt it, and the new board, one, that takes the pressure completely off of them. They still have all the rights and time to amend the budget even that year before the start of the fiscal year if they wanted, or then, of course, throughout the year. So I really like the idea, and it's not directly related to the calendaring, but to not just have a strong statement as it relates to the budget, but actually approve the budget.
I appreciate your comments, because when I was thinking of it earlier today, I had the same thought that, well, you can always amend it. And I don't know why I didn't think of saying that here now, so I appreciate you piping in on that. How about we add this to an agenda in January, so that the entire board can be part of this conversation? And that gives plenty of time to either amend the schedule, not amend this schedule, but amend the administration schedule for presentation of proposed budget, so that we are able to do that, or we don't do that.
I think that's a fantastic idea. I can support that, and I know being new and looking at this type of budget was way over my head. So it would have been, I would have liked to have heard or had the previous board kind of had it done already and allow us to, you know,
Get the training.
even if one of them came in on a public comment to say, we approve this budget based on, this is what our thoughts were. Although I guess if you are running for a trustee, you should probably be watching the meetings or coming to the meetings so you can hear the discussion of the budget. But anyway,
Yeah, and if you have a strong,
I think that's a great idea.
I don't know what our January calendar looks like. It seems to me like we want to answer this question sooner in the calendar year than later, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll make it very clear, I'm very on board for this. I couldn't imagine, it would have been awesome if that would have happened
Yeah.
when we first came on to the board. I think it should be done every just to protect the new board coming in. I think I think it's an exceptional idea. It would have took a lot of stress off and a hard learning curve right up front.
Yeah. Okay.
So from the administration's perspective, November 26th feels like a good date for the second meeting in November. And unless I hear otherwise, we're going to be adjusting our internal operations, because I would just love to have this budget out of the way before any of the holidays.
And I'm very supportive based on the conversation we've had, but I think I'm sensing that here too, but I'd like our other trustees to
Yeah.
have their input on it too.
Manager Stool Dryer, would that be something you'd be interested in every year?
Yeah.
So maybe this is the beginning of something.
I
if
mean,
works.
it's simply a target date. The statute
Right.
requires 12/31. You know, the planning, if it's the first or the second week in November, once a new board's in, it may be the second week in, the second meeting in November, which is still before the holiday. But, yeah, I'd love to have the budget done before holidays.
And like you said, if if the budget was approved, it still could be amended if something would come up
Yeah, or you didn't like it.
where you didn't like something, but you're not gonna
Yeah.
not like the whole thing. It's going
Right.
to be
Yeah, something in particular.
something particular. So
Agreed.
okay, so maybe this is the beginning of something interesting.
All right, so not making a motion,
No
but I'm gonna recommend that, based on what I'm hearing from Mr. Stuhldreher, my thoughts on it, and no negative feedback, that we at least amend the calendar proposed. So rather than having the November 27th, that meeting happens on the 26th, the Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then,
And that would be the new board.
Correct.
is that the first one we talked about?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have more? Do you have some
No,
too?
I was
I
ready
don't
to
have,
go to the second one.
two others that I just want to comment on. April 3rd joint meeting. It's fallen on this date every year, but I do schedule 1 week away a year with my wife, and it's happening again here. And I get back late because we often stay through the weekend down in Florida, and I come back exhausted, not prepared for that meeting. If we were able to move that meeting back maybe between the 10th and 24th, only because I have to run that meeting, and I feel
That's
it's an
fine.
important meeting. And if it doesn't conflict with anything else, I'd like to move it to the middle of April, that Wednesday between the 10th and, so it'd be 17th, I'm assuming.
I have no issue.
Okay.
I'm fine moving that. Makes it after my
Is it-
birthday.
Mr. Stuhldreher, from your perspective, I'm assuming we don't have other boards meeting on that third Wednesday, right?
You see.
Clerk Cody,
You have any idea if we have any board meetings?
did you want to jump in?
I'm just trying to
April
think all my
17th.
election dates
That's
and
a
everything
Wednesday.
else.
Oh,
See,
yeah, please. Yeah. Do you want
I
to look
think
that
I'm
up?
good. No, I'm good.
There are no other board meetings that night.
Okay. So that doesn't pose any issues from your perspective?
No.
Okay. Do you want, I prefer you be comfortable
Yeah, it's fine.
with your election dates. It's fine?
Yeah, it's, May is when if there is one, I mean, we're having one February, there's a possible chance in May, and then you got August, November, so it should be fine.
Okay, good.
I just was trying to look it up first.
And this one, I'm not.
So that would change to the 17th.
17th.
That's what I was suggesting,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
And then the only other one I thought about on the calendar, and I don't feel strongly about this, I just wanted to lift it up, which is the very last meeting of the year. And actually, let me scratch that. When I originally looked at the November 27th one, I thought moving ahead a week rather than what Tara had suggested, which is move it to the 20th. So I thought about bumping the December meeting up a week, but never mind. I'm going to retract any recommendation on that last meeting. Unless y'all have feelings on it.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, so are there, I lifted up the two that I wanted, the November 27th and April 3rd. Anybody else have any comments, suggestions?
I can make a motion if everybody's set.
I'm happy.
Happy? Happy, everyone?
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
like to make a motion to consider the approval of the proposed Board of Trustees meeting schedule for the 2024 calendar year in accordance with the Open Meetings Act, with exceptions of two dates. One, April 3rd, 2024, to be moved to April 17th, 2024. The second date is a meeting set for November 27th of 2024, to be moved to November 26th of 2024.
I'll support if you remove consider.
Word I consider?
You said consider approval, so just approve.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He says,
so-
well, he always says.
Good. We have a motion by Brown, support by Rice. Any further discussion on this? I just want to check again. Mr. Stuhldreher, you're comfortable with
Yes.
those changes? Okay. With that motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Amended proposed calendar passes unanimously.
So we expect you to be like really chipper at that meeting.
Right.
Rested up.
Tanned,
now.
tanned and rested, and yeah, the last 2 years it's been quite tired. But that Wednesday night,
It's a great,
recovering from the drive back.
and it's a great meeting. I understand you don't want to miss
Yeah.
it. It's an exceptional meeting.
Which I'm going to ask. Actually, I'll wait till the end here. Let me take a note. That finishes our new business. That brings us to item 12 on the agenda, extended public comment. Extended public comment is restricted to 5 minutes regarding any issue. If you choose to address the public, please state your name and address for the record. And with that, we will open up extended public comment at 7:56 p.m.
Nobody.
Let the record show, still nobody attending remotely. I see no one coming forward in this room. So with that, we'll close extended public comment at 7:56 p.m. That brings us to item 13 on the agenda, manager's comments. Mr. Stooldryer.
Thank you, and I do have just a couple tonight. One in particular, I want to just give you a heads up. Our next board meeting is January, I want to say 10th, might be the 13th, but it's a few weeks from now. And you're going to see in your agenda packet that night a recommendation to consider approval, what I'm calling an at-will department director employment agreement. And what we have is 3 department heads that are at will, which means they serve at the pleasure of the township manager. It's in the job descriptions. It's what they understand the relationship to be. But we don't have anything in writing in that regard. And so I've drafted, and it's been vetted several times by the township attorney. I've reviewed it with the existing department directors. It's several pages in length, but it formalizes the relationship, the employment relationship between the township and the employee and with the township manager. The objective is I'm trying to create clarity on this business of at will, which means termination can occur without cause. And then what happens in those events? There are collective bargaining agreements that speak to what happens to leave banks when somebody retires or resigns, but there's nothing in writing other than past practice what happens to those leave banks for department directors. And so we'd be codifying some of the past practice, not looking to change anything in a material way, but just putting it down on paper. And the other objective is, and this gets to retention and recruitment. Department directors, they've worked hard here, they're under stress. They're at some risk, not a lot of risk, I don't think, but they're at some risk to the political environment of any community. I recognize that, the manager does, when they come to a township or a village and city. So I know what I'm signing up for. I think that's a little less obvious oftentimes at the department director level, but it can happen. So there's a section in there, it's a formula that creates a severance payment maxes out at 6 months if you've been here a certain number of years, the formula. But for an at-will employee that's let go without cause, that's when this severance payment would kick in. So, I think it creates a little bit of cushion, and we think it helps the psyche, if you will, of the department directors. Whether they're, the events that we talk about could be of my own volition. It's my management team. I have the authority through the governance policy and the job description to hire and terminate and manage all these department directors. The other thing that could occur, is an elected body could come in. They would demand that I do something vis-a-vis a department director. I would likely refuse, and if the elected officials found a way to let them go without cause, I just think they're owed something if that type of thing happens. So there's a section in there about that. There's also, as it relates to if somebody is let go without cause and they're getting a severance payment and a continuation of benefits, and you'll see all this in this memo. I'm just giving you a little heads up here. There's a release of all claims document that's associated with the employment agreement, so that we don't want somebody that we've paid severance to turn around and sue us. So, if you want the severance, you can release your claims, otherwise you can do what you want, type of thing. I was originally trying to have this in the board agenda tonight, but then without the full board, I really didn't want to do that. And I also didn't want to be completely silent on it until a month from now, when you just see it in an agenda packet. So I'm taking this opportunity through manager comments to give you a heads up that you'll be seeing something along those lines in the next packet. And in between then, I will give you via email a written write-up. Not going to be asking you to, make any decisions on it, but you'll have ample time to look at this document, talk to me about it if you want. And then, of course, you'll see it formally in the agenda packet that goes out approximately January 7th or something like that. So I wanted to bring that up during this period. If any of you have no idea what I'm talking about or what I'm trying to do, we can clarify it here now. If you have some sense, I think we can move on, and you'll get some other things in writing from me on this topic. So that's one comment. The other comment is, at the last meeting, I mentioned, 1 or 2 meetings ago, I mentioned that I was going to be meeting with some of the folks from McGurk Sand and Gravel on some issues that we wanted to try to resolve. That meeting occurred yesterday morning. It was a very, I thought, productive meeting. We met most of the morning. We have agreed to continue talking. There are 2 things that are out there that need resolution from my perspective. One is, it was agreed some time ago that a sidewalk would be installed in front of Dozers around the corner at Lincoln and 20, heading south to getting close to the Arboretum apartments, if you will. Mm-hmm. And that was to be done by some time ago in the past. The statute of limitations on that agreement expires in February. So we met, that's one item I wanted to meet about. It was, are you gonna get this thing put in, or do I need to do something to protect the township because the statute of limitations is gonna expire? And we had a good conversation on that. There will be, starting I bet tomorrow, you'll see ground turning for the sidewalk that is gonna run down Remus in front of 20, around the corner, and start heading south on Lincoln. And you'll see that it ends at the north side of the driveway apron for now. And I said that was fine. The asphalt plants are closed. They're gonna have to tear up the driveway a little bit, so, because they need to lay a sidewalk in the driveway. So we made good progress on that. There'll be other legal documents that extend the statute of limitations. So, you know, I think we made some good progress on that. And then the other item, we began discussions about the condition of the property at Lincoln and Broomfield. That, of course, is all you know. You've been here much longer than I. It's been an operation that's gone back into the 60s, and prior to that, Mr. McGurk's father and probably grandfather were operating that property. There's a long history. It goes way back before zoning. There's been several attempts by different administrations and council boards to address that property, and now it's my turn to try to do that. That property is zoned residential, and this is not the first discussion we've had with them on this. And so that's just the background, and I think what our focus will likely be on is more from an aesthetic perspective, maybe a little bit operationally. It's effectively being used as a contractor's construction yard, contractor's staging yard. It's zone residential. It's not allowed. There'll be arguments back and forth about what was going on before zoning, and therefore are those uses grandfathered or not. But I think we'll be able to, I'm hopeful that in time we'll be able to make some progress on that property. There's actually two parcels that are kind of used in that fashion. One has a big hole in it. That's where the excavation business was going on years ago. That's actually Chuck's brother or cousin that owns that parcel, Pat McGurk. But we're focusing on the front parcel that kind of you see from Lincoln and somewhat on Broomfield. So anyways, we had that meeting, and we're going to have some sidewalk going in, and we're going to continue to meet on the Broomfield property. So I'll keep you up to speed on that. And then we had a nice, Gordy Frazier came in. Dr. Bills was at the lunch last Friday. Had all the staff in, very nice. Gordy Frazier wanted to come in. They've been in business 75 years. They've been a partner with the township for 30-some years. So they put on a little lunch for us, and that's where we closed the building. And so that was very, very nice. And then we also had a nice employee. Our annual party was held December 1st at the cask room next to Hunter's Ale House. And that was a very fun and enjoyable evening. I have to thank Amy Peak and Tara Green and Kim Smith for really doing the work that makes that such a nice event. And And then finally, I just want to wish everyone a happy holiday season, a Merry Christmas, if I don't see you before Christmas. So I know that's a little long, but thank you.
Thank you. Comments, questions? You ready to move on?
I just have one question for the manager. When you said you met with the department heads on what you're going, everybody happy?
They were, yes, they were. I don't know if happy is the right word, but they were very appreciative.
Yeah.
And they had comments that I have taken into account, not maybe all of them, but some of them.
Yeah.
And so procedurally, what I did was I drafted it, and then there was 2 or 3 iterations between myself and the township attorney. And then once I was comfortable that it was getting close to final form, then I rolled it out to the department directors, maybe, I don't know if it was last week or the week before.
Yeah.
Reviewed it with them in detail, and they had opportunities to comment where they needed some clarification. But in the main, they were very appreciative, particularly as it relates to if you're an at-will employee and somebody decides, you know, the sun's not coming up the way we want it to today, and somebody's going to make some changes of my employment status, you know, do I get paid still? Am I just out the door? So, you know, that part, of course, they were very appreciative of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that. I try to put myself in their shoes. It seems like it would build trust for me, something like that.
Mhm.
It would make me trust my position in the township and the manager. Okay, thank you. I think it's great. I think it's excellent.
I had one of them say that they would, when I was thinking it might be on the agenda tonight, that they would, and I'm sure they do it again in January, they'll stand up at the podium and tell you that they support it.
As a trustee, I would love to have them come in here and say,
Yeah.
not that
Yeah.
I'm asking, but
No, I understand
it really shows the community how much the staff and the department heads are behind you when they do something like that, and behind the board. That's excellent. That's excellent. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to follow up and comment on that too. Obviously, haven't seen language or anything that's your wheelhouse, but the high-level description you gave seems like it addresses retention, which is a real issue everywhere right now. It also is risk management because there's clarity on termination, whether intended or not, and that protects the township and protects the director, and it's a win-win from my perspective.
I think it's great. I think it's exceptional.
Appreciate that being in your thought process. We good? Moving on to final board member comment. Let's see, I'm trying to remember. There. Okay. Treasurer Rice.
I just hope everybody has a wonderful holiday, stay safe and that in your travels, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that fun stuff. See you in the new year, if not before. Get your taxes in.
Trustee Brown.
Yeah, I'd just like to reach out and say Merry Christmas, and moving into our last year, board. Well, you know, last year of this term anyways. And I would just like to lift up the manager, and again, exceptional work. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for protecting Union Township, the constituents, the board, your staff. Excellent job, thank you. And Merry Christmas to you. Yep.
Clerk Cody.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Trustee Theron.
I'd like to thank manager Stool Dryer and his staff for all the hard work on the budget. Again, I apologize for not being here previous meeting, but I had no questions, I had no concerns. It just seemed to just flow, everything flowed correctly, so. That does not come easy, it's all your hard work, and thank you very much.
Thank you, and by extension, I give credit to the staff.
I'm good.
Briefly, I'm gonna ask to put something on your plate, trustee Thering.
Very good.
And this is partly because I believe it was your idea, so correct me if I misunderstand.
Yep.
One of your suggestions for our April meeting that was on our calendar was to make sure that we prepare our boards for that.
Yep.
Would you be willing to take the charge to make sure this board doesn't forget to discuss that
Yep.
at the beginning of the new year,
For the April 17th meeting,
for the April 17th meeting?
not the
So
April
that,
3rd.
and I will try to remember too, but
Yeah.
I know it was your idea, and I think it's a good
Yeah.
one, and make sure that we're all prepared, so we get the most out of that meeting.
Yeah, start talking maybe at our respective meetings, maybe in February,
Right.
March.
But I think
Comments.
part of it too, though, is discussions from this board is what do we want, what messages do we want to send,
Right,
and what are our expectations for the other boards as far as what we think is useful for the public to hear and us to hear.
Would that be possibly on an agenda then? An
We-
appropriate agenda?
We can do that. Mark, would you be willing to put that on? Either January or, we probably should do it in January, right?
Yeah, January, no later than maybe the first meeting in February.
So that we have an opportunity to make sure
Yeah.
that we can communicate to the other
Yeah.
boards and give them the time that they
Yeah.
need.
Because for the planning commission, we meet almost the end of February, so we'd have February and March, and we'd have
Right.
a month and a half or so. Yeah, I will
So-
do that.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate your original idea on that. Last year of term,
I know,
I-
it went by so quick.
I had thought about this earlier this week, thinking we're about to kick off, but I forgot about this until you brought it up. We're about to kick off this last year of this board, and then the public will choose a new set of 7 to carry on, whether it be some of us or not. So I just want to pose the question now, and maybe you'll have an answer in January. If maybe there's not an answer that we need, is there something else that we haven't gone after, that we haven't accomplished, that you'd like to see us accomplish in that final year? I don't know. Just planting the seed. So with that, also, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Look forward to meeting with you all in the beginning of the new year. Happy to entertain any motions for adjournment.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Support. Motion by Rice, support by Brown to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned at 8:18 PM.
Thank you.